Hey, Never Trump neocons. I know that you would like to believe that you're helping save America somehow by sticking to your true conservative principles. But please, stop pretending to be these noble role models because you're not helping anyone. On average, you're mostly a bunch of grumpy, miserable, middle-aged white guys. But I'm sure some of you are reasonable, intelligent, and knowledgeable people, which is great because I don't have to sell you on how bad Hillary is. You already know. What I can't understand is how you think that this guy is somehow worse. That he's somehow so bad that you would actually allow crooked Hillary and her sexual predator husband to take over the White House again. And I'll admit, back in those days, I loved the Clintons, but not anymore. I didn't know any better back then. We didn't have alternative news and social media back in those days. But I wised up. And those are really bad people. But you already know that. You always did. So how can you allow them to go back into power again? Because Donald Trump doesn't fit your definition of what a true conservative is supposed to be, and you're so outraged that he took over the GOP that you're refusing to even vote for him? You're never Trump? Even though he's sincerely evolved in his conservative views? Even though he's picked up a model conservative VP in Mike Pence? Even though he's got massive amounts of enthusiasm and support, and you're still willing to stand in the way and complain, even though it means the risking of the return of Bill and Hillary Clinton? Are you out of your minds? Are you really willing to let the country burn just because you didn't get your way? What's disturbing is that many of you actually seem like you want him to lose. Even willing to betray your party and all the people that work so hard to get him there. You want him to lose. Badly. And you want all of his supporters to admit that you were right. And you just love to throw out all those polls that confirm what you want to believe. He's losing, and it's everyone else's fault because they should have seen this coming and supported a better candidate. Like who exactly? Because if the GOP establishment had their way, we would have been stuck with Jeb Bush, a blue-blooded Rockefeller Republican, a true lesser of two evils. And the third President Bush in 30 years? Is this a democracy or a dynasty? And it would also be the least enthusiastic election ever. So would good old Jeb be way up in the polls right now? Would he be drawing massive crowds of excited supporters?
Please clap.
Not a chance. At best, he would have been a toss-up to beat Hillary in a low turnout race. So who's next? Marco Rubio? While some of you may view him as a rising star, those of us that don't live in your bubble see something else entirely. A robotic little Manchurian candidate, completely compromised by the worst of Washington. A puppet controlled by shady, warmongering neocons. True wolf in sheep's clothing. The master of talking points. Another completely scripted political phony. But to be fair, he does do some good and potentially has a bright future ahead of him. But he wasn't ready for prime time.
And let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. But I would add this, let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly
what he's doing. There it is, the memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's
there
the
it is,
reason why
everybody.
this camp...
He would have been exposed in the debates. And he would not have had half the enthusiasm as Donald Trump. And he wouldn't have had a fraction of the social media support. Without Trump, the alt-right probably wouldn't even exist. But without them, none of your guys would exist either. Because what other army was going to fight for one of your guys? Relentlessly in non-stop, round-the-clock trench warfare on social media and the message boards. Exactly. You may despise the alt-right, but you need them more than they need you. For all of those listed reasons, there's just no way to predict how a Hillary versus Marco Rubio election would have played out. So maybe he would have been up in all your precious polls that you just love to flaunt in our faces, as though they truly represent some unquestionably infallible outcome. Yeah, see? He's winning! Sure, they only called 1,000 people, and sure they oversampled, and sure there's a margin of error, but hey, he's up by 2 points. Who knows? Would he be up in the polls? Maybe. But does that really mean that he would be guaranteed to win? No. But we'll never know anyway, so all bets are off. Then there was Ted Cruz. He's a really sharp guy, and knows it, and is kind of smug about it, and is apparently unpleasant to work with and be around. But you have to respect his fierce defense of liberty and his loyalty to the Constitution. He's a social conservative, but at least he respects states' rights to make their own decisions. Maybe he could make for a good Senate Majority Leader, but president might be a bit of a stretch. And while his traditional strict constitutional conservatism is commendable, he's also extremely polarizing and a little bit creepy. He certainly won't appeal to any Democrats, and independents are anybody's guess. Would they respect his brand of republicanism, or would they view him as just another warmongering religious zealot? Certainly didn't help to have a lunatic around him at all of his major events.
Before I walked out on stage, Ted and I got down on our knees and we prayed.
Again, there's no way to prove that Ted Cruz would have beaten Hillary or would be up in the polls. It would likely have been a very strict party line battle. Last I checked, that didn't go so well during the last 2 elections. So why would it have been any better this time around? So who's left? Good old moderate John? Go along to get along John? Not really a Republican John? Open borders? Globalist? Down with TPP John?
A one-time Republican presidential candidate joining forces with the opposition party's standard bearer, the president, to promote the passage of the 12-nation Trans-Pacific Partnership.
How about nothing new, nothing exciting, nothing to see here, John? Another establishment hack, John. He was never really that popular, so it's really hard to say how he would have fared in a general election against Hillary. So sorry, never Trumpers. You can make believe whatever you want, but you didn't truly have an alternative candidate that could guarantee a victory. The only guarantee is that none of those candidates would have had half the enthusiasm or support that Donald Trump does. The reality is that you've lost the last 2 elections and were most likely on your way to losing number 3. It's time to face the facts. You guys live in your own bubble and are completely out of touch with the general public. GOP brand was destroyed after the Bush administration. I don't know if you've noticed, but people are sick of status quo candidates, especially old dinosaurs from a bygone era. Going forward into the future, the demographics are completely against you. And if you really think that someday people are going to come around to your brand of conservatism again, you are beyond delusional. And don't get me wrong, if Hillary wins, you're going to see another backlash, another resurgence against the left. But it will be in the form of more of the alt-right and Tea Party and libertarianism. You're going to have to accept the fact that the days of warmongering social conservatism are dead and they are never coming back. So what are you going to do about it? Stand aside and risk Hillary taking over? Because none of us are going to win if she gets in. You could adapt, survive, maybe even thrive under a Trump presidency. But Hillary is an assured failure. How are you going to survive 8 years of Hillary selling us out, trashing the Bill of Rights, and appointing the next several Supreme Court justices? After she's done, you'll be lucky to have a voice to complain with anymore. And you will never win another election. And you will forever have to bear that burden. Because when you had an opportunity to put away the corrupt and vulnerable Clintons, when you had a chance to destroy the Democratic Party and finish off their media, when the country needed you the most, you chose to stand down because the guy that the people wanted wasn't conservative enough for you. Well, that's going to be on your conscience. You've been warned. So please reconsider. Do the right thing and don't let us down. The future may depend on you. Thanks for listening.